And what is up, everyone? Real quick, before we get started, um, I just want to let everyone know that starting in October, I'll be going to a pre recorded format, but you'll still find the shows on YouTube and Spotify, of course. And also, they'll be streaming on Nighthawk Radio, which is available on 365.com. You can go check out the shows there. There's a lot of shows on that one, actually. Just remember Nighthawk Radio. You can type that in and you'll find it very easily. Uh, Also, if you've crossed paths with a strange or unknown creature or entity, man, let me know. Shoot me an email. I'd love to hear your story and maybe have you on the show. Uh, like I said, it'll all be pre-recorded. You don't have to be, uh, on video. I think I'm gonna go mainly the audio. But every now and then, I'll do video just to kind of let people know what I'm at, where I'm at, and what I'm up to. Also on my YouTube in October. Also, I plan on going out into the woods a few more times, and uh, you know, hopefully get some evidence of the Bigfoot. That's what I'm into. That's my wheelhouse. Um, Also, oh yeah, there's going to be a documentary coming out. Mr. William Jevning, who's a good friend of mine, he's had over 50 years of experience in the Bigfoot world. Uh, he just sent me the movie, I guess you could say, the documentary. It's still in pre-production, and it's kind of a rough draft, but it looks pretty good. I'm in it. My buddy Walter's going to be in it. He talks about his encounter. We talk about stuff here in Texas, and yeah, so I'll be sure to let you guys know when that's available and when it's coming out and how you can find it. But again, if you've had any kind of strange encounters or experiences, man, shoot me an email beyond.woodline@gmail.com, and you can remain anonymous if you want to. And yeah, so tonight I have with me Mr. Kevin of Fearless Paranormal. How are you doing, Kevin?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, man, thanks a lot. I know we had a show scheduled this Monday, but technical difficulties kept us from doing the show. And now I don't have a camera for whatever reason. That might be a good thing. People might be happy with that I'm not on camera. They don't have to see my ugly mug. But yeah, hopefully I can get this figured out and what's going on. But yeah, if you don't mind, Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you started into this crazy world we find ourselves into?
Well, it all started, I would say, about 2004. My dad got into a show called Ghost Hunters. I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started getting into that. Not really fully getting into it yet, but just it piqued my interest. And then after that, Ghost Adventures came on, and then I started seeing more equipment, so I started getting a little bit more into the paranormal. And then I would say my first house that I rented out, I had some stuff happen, like I felt and hear things, but I still, wasn't a believer yet 'cause I wasn't really into it fully yet. And then, it just each house, my next apartment, I had like, wine glass thrown at me. We were just having a bunch of weird oddities happening. So finally one day for Christmas, I found this paranormal group that does tours in Ybor City in Tampa. And I got my dad that as a gift, so we went and did a tour. So it was our first like real paranormal investigation, and seeing for the first time stuff on there that you see on TV, not knowing if it's real or not, but now you see it's real. It like that's when I fully got more into invested into it, and then I found out that the lady doing the tours had her own paranormal group. So me and my dad joined, and that's how we met the other members of my Fearless Paranormal. But she was kind of like more into like just the basic, commercial kind of ghosty stuff, like the investigation stuff, and we like the more extreme stuff. So we kind of just branched off, made our own group, and just branched off and did our own thing. we've been fairly new. We just started out like about a year ago, so we don't have too many spots yet.
No, well, that's cool, man. It's always fun to talk to people who are fairly new to this field. Because they're so fresh and green, and it's kind of refreshing to have that kind of a guest on the show. Um, but I did want to ask you, like, so what was it that actually uh, convinced you? Okay, there is something out there. There is such thing as the paranormal.
So what kind of piqued my interest was like our first tour that we did in Ybor, like the flashlight game. We're sitting there asking questions, the flashlight turns on. So now you're like, all right, it's not on TV. We don't think anyone's, turning it on by itself, kind of thing. So that slowly got my interest. And then our first field trip with this group, and this is where I met everyone else from Fearless, we went to Savannah, Georgia. And I would say Savannah, Georgia is the place that convinced me that there is another world in between ours. Um, we stayed at the Marshall House in Savannah, Georgia. I don't know if you know the history of the Marshall House.
No, I don't. You can tell us a little bit. I've certainly heard of it, but I don't know anything about it, unfortunately. But yeah, fill us in a little bit if you don't mind.
Back during the wars and stuff at the Marshall House, it used to be like the top two floors. They use it as surgical wings for like people that were hurt. So
Mhm.
clean them up. All the amputees and stuff. So we were staying at the hotel late at night, just doing an investigation, kind of introducing it ourselves because this is where we all physically met with each other was here. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, you start smelling like that, the rotten flesh smell, and it's just unique because you didn't smell it at all before, and then you start smelling it. It's kind of like, all right, there's something out here. So that kind of started it. And then the next day, we went to the Moon River Brewing Company in Savannah, and I caught my first EVP there. And just listening to that live, it's just like, all right, there's definitely something out there.
Yeah, those EVPs when you first hear it, because I remember the first time I caught one, and well, really I didn't catch one. My son caught it, and he came brought it to me. That was kind of eerie. It's kind of creepy. That was in our old house, and
Hmm.
he was like, because I had told him to go get my recorder, my Bigfoot recorder that I use when I go camping. I said we're gonna do an EVP session because our house was just like haunted big time, and he went to the room by himself, and he came out. He was white as a ghost. He's like, "Yeah, you got to hear this." And he played it back, and
Yeah,
that was like really kind of creepy. I mean, it was no mistake because he says he went into the room by himself, and he was like, he goes, "Is anybody here with us?" And you hear a voice come back, "Yeah," and it was just like that. It was so weird.
yeah, like stuff like that when it's hard to explain, you're just like, there's got to be something out there.
Yeah. Um, I
But
wanted to ask you when you said that you had smelt the rotting corpse. Did other people smell it too?
at first, I smelt it because I thought it was just like my head playing tricks on me because we did a history
Right.
of the place, and that's the number one thing that guests have smelt on the top two floors. So I kind of thought it's just my mind tricks playing on me. I used to work at a funeral home, so I knew that smell. So I think it was kind of like just like my mind playing tricks on me, and how people are saying they smelt it. I know what it smells like, kind of thing. And then a few minutes later, it went away. So I was like, all right, well maybe it's just my imagination. And then my other team member started smelling it. And then it was a domino effect. Everyone in the room started smelling it. So we wanted to leave because the smell was just getting too overwhelming. And as soon as we opened up the door, it was kind of like, like the firefighters when they open up the doors, like that backdraft. As
Right.
soon as we opened that door, like the smell in the hallway just hit us, and it was bad in the hallway. So we left the hotel and went down in the base in the dining room conference area. We did the EVP kind of thing down there, and then we went back up the room and we never smelt that smell again. So it was
Hmm.
kind of unique.
Well, that's I I kind of want to say I envy you that you're able to smell that, but I don't know if that's a smell I want to smell either. You know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and then that was pretty intense. And then we went back to Savannah a few months later, and we went to the Pirate House. It's a restaurant, but there's a tour that takes you down in the basement area where the pirates used to Shanghai people.
Mhm.
And I had my recorder on my phone. I had a recorder up on the top by me, and I got home and I caught an EVP on the same EVP I caught on my recorder. I also caught it on my phone, so I thought that was pretty wild too to get it on both devices.
Right. Do you remember what the EVP was, or what it said?
It was like a very whispery, drawn out like hi.
Okay. Hmm.
And right before that, the ghost tour that we joined, she had a lady who was kind of a sensitive, like she can feel things. And right before that EVP happened, she got up and she felt something and left. And as soon as she left is when I caught that EVP. So that was another thing that really piqued my interest with that.
Have you ever caught like a really creepy EVP?
Um, there's a few, but I would say the creepiest one is not too long ago, and there was a nasty attachment with that I'm still kind of battling with a little bit, but it was at Pasadena, Florida. I don't know if you know, it's the psychic capital of the world in Florida.
No.
It's not too far from Daytona, but it's like the psychic capital of the world. It's the town with the most mediums and psychics living in it per capita.
Oh.
So it's like
Hmm.
really heavy energy in there. And
Okay.
there's a cemetery there that there's a lore of the devil's chair being there.
Hmm.
And the two lures that I've seen is if you put a beer can on the devil's chair, come back the next day, the contents will be empty, but the tab will still be closed. And the other lore is if you sit there at midnight, the devil will whisper in your ear. But now, because it's so popular with those lures, they lock it up and security it very tightly at night, so you can't go in there. But after we left the hotel the next day, we just stopped there in the daytime, and I'm sitting on the devil's chair, doing the EVP, and my buddy asks it a question, and then you just hear a little girl out of the blue just say hello. And it's just like, we're the only ones in the cemetery. It's all woods. You don't hear no one around. And just for some reason, just that little girl's voice sitting on the devil's chair was just like my creepiest one I felt.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Because,
think anytime you hear like little kids, it's kind of creepy.
yeah, yeah, that's like, if I hear kids at the hacienda, like where I'm at now, they don't creep me out because I know there's been children seen here. So I know there's nothing evil here. So any of the children's spirits here, I feel fine. But just sitting in the chair listening to that was a little crazy.
So you mentioned that you're there at the hacienda.
Yep.
That seems to be like one of your favorite places to be. Can you tell us a little bit about that place and why you're drawn to
Yeah,
that place?
so pretty much we're a year in, so we really don't have places to investigate. So when we can't find a place to investigate, we come here because this is like our home, pretty much.
Hmm.
Rafe, who owns this place, he manages it. I mean, and Oscar and all the whole staff here, they all love us and everything. So whenever we don't have a place to go, we'll call them up here and see, if they have some rooms for us, and they just let us come in and investigate here. And this place has been amazing. Um, at first when we got here, because the spirits here are very shy, or how majority of the spirits are all afraid of us, more than we are them. And we've been coming here every week, they're starting to know our energy, know who we are. So now they're starting to come out more, and we're starting to get more evidence now than we did before.
Hmm.
And I got some cool evidence on TikTok. My TikTok name is actually Ghost Hunter 89. But
Yeah.
I have some. reposts that I've been posting on my page of my other team members here actually getting, because the bathrooms, I always feel like the bathrooms are like portals, and we've gotten my one team member, she actually gotten a little boy in the mirror looking at us, which was pretty wild seeing that.
So why do you think bathrooms are portals?
I think it's because of the mirrors, because mirrors
Okay,
are portals, and out
right.
of all the rooms, the portals are always, the mirrors are always in the bathroom, and there's always one by the sink, and there's always one behind the door. So I feel like just with that energy alone, it's very creepy in there.
Yeah, yeah. And but you mentioned that, and there's a lot of truth to the fact that sometimes a restroom or a bathroom can be really scary at night. And I don't know what it
Yeah,
is, and maybe because that's what it is. And it, I think restrooms and bathrooms are very underrated when it comes to private activity. Being in someone's house. And I had mentioned this. I was on someone else's podcast. I think it was last week or maybe the week before. Her name is Stella Wolf. If you guys can find her, she's all over TikTok. She's great, great, great gal. I was on her podcast and we kind of talked about that uh, the portals and the mirrors where I used to live at. It was like I said, it was very active, and I never ever thought about it. But there was a big mirror in the master bedroom. It was like 6 by 6. It was a big mirror, and when she mentioned that, man, that little switch just like flicked in my brain. That's probably why. Yeah.
yeah, I noticed about the mirrors because again, when we were at Casadega, we were staying at the Casadega Hotel, and we were on the bottom floor, so I wanted to check out the top floor. And yeah, that top floor, all the hallways going down each way, it was just littered with mirrors. Every wall upstairs, it was mirrors all over the hallway. It was like a funhouse mirror kind of effect, and it just was creepy because you just walking down the hallway and you're just sandwiched between all these mirrors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's yeah, and I don't know. I mean, why do you think mirrors are like that?
I think it all stems to like it's an easier portal, I guess, to come through than
Hmm.
normal. Because I mean, with the what was it, that the game, Bloody Mary. You know,
Right.
you say her 3 times, comes out in the mirror, kind of thing. I think it's an easier portal for them to come through to our side than anywhere else.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense too.
And I
Um,
think the bathrooms are a little bit more creepier because you're kind of more vulnerable in there than anywhere
yeah.
else.
You know,
But
uh, one thing I want to ask you too. We're talking about being creepy and how creepy things are, but have you yourself ever been like seriously scared or like legit really really creeped out?
just once, but like I said, it was very little bit, but we decided to come up with Fearless Paranormal because we want to believe that our whole group we're always fearless. We're not gonna be scared or anything.
Right.
But one incident did pique my interest to a little bit frightful. I don't know if you ever heard the Mace Stringer House in Brooksville, Florida, one of the most haunted houses in Florida.
Right.
So we were in there, and like I said, growing up all my life, I've watched the Ghost Adventures. So I'm always watching Zach Bagan taunting the spirit. So I'm kind of a taunter of the group. And we were at Mace Stringer House sitting up in the attic, and there's a spirit up there named Gary who is he could be mean at times when you push the right buttons.
Right.
So I was sitting in the chair, pushing those buttons, and all of a sudden I heard this growl behind my ear, and it was so close to I could feel the breath behind my ear too. So after I heard that, that was like the first growl I ever heard behind my ear. It jolted me up. It got me going a little bit.
Yeah, I bet it did. Can you describe the growl?
It was it kind of sounded I would say like a creature, like you see in a movie kind of growl. It wasn't an animal growl. It was more deeper and it had more tone to it. But like I said, it came out so forceful that I felt the breath on my ear. I just wish I had it on tape, but I wasn't recording at the time. So yeah, that got my going. And then right after that, I kind of left a little bit because I was getting a little. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna be. This guy ain't gonna scare me. So I went back in there and I was pushing some more buttons. And I was by the his actor chest where he's known to to harbor. And some of our equipment flew off that chest and was coming at me like he was throwing the equipment at me. So then that started getting me going again. Like I'm really pushing his buttons here.
So, can I ask you, what do you do when you push buttons? 'Cause some people are like, that's kind of frowned upon, right? And I don't tell anybody
Yeah,
what to do and how to do it. But I mean, if you want to, I love to hear what you do. If you don't want to, we can move on.
taunting is very frowned upon because it will affect the way the ghosts affect you very
Mhm.
negatively. So it's highly frowned upon to do it because it will piss off the spirits in a way and they will attack you. But to me, it's just like it's one way to get good results in a way, kind of.
Mhm.
So I mean,
I mean, it is, you know.
yeah. So I'm more of a guinea pig that way. But
Mhm.
if they tell me if I'm going, I don't know, say like I'm coming here, and they're like, oh, if you go in this room, so and so's in this room, but this guy doesn't like it when you call him these names. You know what I'm going to be doing, kind of way. So they tell me not to talk to spirits one way. I will just to get the results in a way, trying to
Mhm.
get them out. But I mostly don't start doing that until like there's really nothing going on, and then I'll just see about turning the butter a little bit and seeing what I can get away with, kind of way.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I don't do that. Um, I guess because I'm scared of cat, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, I try not to do that. Well, I don't say I try not to do that. I don't do that. So one thing I did want to ask you too, being there at the hacienda, and you said you're pretty good friends. Were they the owners or the managers or who are they?
The manager, Rafe, he's the manager here. He's been very helpful with our group
Hmm.
and helping us out with what we need and stuff. And like I said, this is a very active hotel. Pretty much every room you stay in is haunted. But the reason why I like this place is because there's nothing negative here.
Okay.
It's all you feel loved here. You feel all loved here, and they pretty much just want their story told. But because there's a lot of kids and women here, I feel like when it comes to new people, they kind of shy off a little bit until they start opening up to you.
Okay. And
But
so the
and
owners, I was going to ask you, the owners, did they have some stories that or experiences that that you can share?
there's like Rafe, who's the manager of this place. He runs this place. His name's come through a few times on our spirit talkers, and the first time it did, I was in kind of like a little alcohol storage unit underneath the shed where his name came through underneath the stairs. Kind of like the Harry Potter door. I always call it the Harry Potter door, but it's kind of like how he slept underneath the stairs. They have a thing like that, like with alcohol. So his name came through there. So I reached out to him. He went there the next day and he said that he felt a presence there, like with the wind blowing. So he did feel stuff with that. And then just now today, when I got here, my team member showed me an EVP. The second time his name came through, I was talking and I was asking the spirits about. I was talking about Rafe, the manager, and I asked the spirits if I was like, "Do you think he's taking good care of this place?" And they called an EVP saying yes. So
Oh,
the spirits are very aware of the staff here too.
well, that's good. You know, I've heard of places like that where um, if the staff has been there for a while, the spirits are usually good to them, or at least know them and don't mess with them too much. As far as if it's a entity that's not happy, they'll they won't mess with them because they know who they are.
Yeah,
Have you
but
ever ran into an entity that wasn't so nice?
yeah, I would say um I've been to twice. They're up in Holiday up by me. There's this cemetery that we used to go to. I went there twice, and my one buddy with me has caught shadow figures in the cemetery just watching you. And again, I have those up on
Oh,
my
really?
TikTok page, so you can actually see shadow figures just standing there watching you, and you just feel a very negative presence there. And what was creepy was it was just us two in the cemetery. The cemetery's all locked. We go to his car, and there's a handprint on his hood of his car. All the fingertips and fingers are fine. There's just the pointer finger, like the top of the fingertip, kind of look like kind of how like those alien hands are, like they're very triangular. Like some of the fingertips were like that. So that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I bet that would be. Um,
But I would say my most unique experience again was Casadega. Um, there's a fairy forest there, and me being Irish, the Irish lore is you got fairies that protect you, kind of thing. And with that being like a fairyland, I was in a hotel room going live, and I have it on my TikTok page also. But someone noticed it looks like a little fairy actually flying into my back. You can kind of see like the little
oh,
legs
really?
and everything. It was pretty wild
Hmm,
with that.
that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
but like I said, it's like stuff like that you can't explain.
yeah. I was gonna. That's kind of something I wanted to ask you about too. Was orbs? What do you think about orbs? There's a lot of arguments of whether or not orbs are real or not. I think they're real. I've seen them, with my naked eye, and I've seen them on camera. Um, uh, I just think the naysayers are kind of set in their ways with that. What do you think about orbs?
Yeah, again, like I said, I got some few good ones on my TikTok page, but I mean, sometimes you take pictures, you got to analyze it because some of the orbs, when you zoom in, you see like the little bug wings, so you obviously know that
Right,
they're
right.
bugs. Some of them are, some of them they could be dust in a way,
Yeah.
but like I've gotten orbs that are like bright pink, so it's like,
Mhm.
how is that a bug? How is that a dust if it's bright pink?
Yeah.
Gotten some orbs that look like moons, like a full moon. So like, stuff like that. Like if it looks like a full moon, obviously it's not a bug or dust. Some of the orbs you get are has faces actually in the orbs.
Mhm.
So it just depends on what you
Yeah,
capture
yeah,
and what's in.
yeah. And
But I would,
not. I think it's kind of like what you're saying too. Not everything is an orb, right? There's dust, there's water droplets, there's bugs, mist, whatever. Eh,
yeah,
but I mean, sometimes an orb is no shit an orb. Um, like I said, I've seen them and I've got them on film myself, and it's crazy. To actually witness. But I don't necessarily, dismiss everything until after you analyze it and check it out. That's what I think you should
yeah.
do. Yeah.
And that's
I've
another thing I
I've told
noticed.
this. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's another thing I noticed about this place too. Like I save all my pictures because there's a few times where I got a bunch of blurry pictures and I'm going looking through my pictures and I'm gonna delete the blurry pictures, but then I look. Then when you zoom in on some of the blurry pictures, you can actually see orbs inside the blurry pictures.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
crazy how they come in certain ways.
Yeah. Well, I think that eh, so I don't like delete all my pictures right away. I make sure that I go through them pretty good, before I delete them. I don't want them taking up a bunch of space on my phone, but um, I've had where it's not in the picture one day, and the next day I've seen something in the picture that I missed. And uh,
Hmm.
whether it was something or not, just something in general, that I missed. Oh shit, I didn't see that. So I think
Yeah,
it's important not to just delete your pictures right away. wait till
yeah,
we're able to get home and check it out and look at
yeah.
them
Before
properly.
we started doing all this paranormal stuff, I was digging around boxes and I found an old point and shoot camera, like an old Canon. So I went on Amazon, got a battery for it, battery charger, and everything like that. And that's the camera I use, and it's just catching good pictures.
Mhm.
It's just crazy those old cameras.
Yeah, I'd like to get me an old 35 millimeter camera. That's what I would really like to get.
Yeah, but yeah,
Or
sometimes like you said, you take a picture, you don't really see anything in there, but you kind of feel like there is something there. So I have a few friends that are kind of like what do you call it, empaths and stuff like that. So I'll send it to them, and they'll see certain things, and then when I go back and look at it, I'm like, okay, that's what's in there. Like
yeah,
sometimes I need some.
yeah, it's always good to get some help, and it's always and I don't even mind asking a skeptic either. Like a true
Yeah,
skeptic. I don't mind getting their opinion. I think you have to. I think it keeps you honest. I think that it because like I saw this picture a friend of mine had showed me, and I swear it looked like some black shadowy mass going across the camera. And coming from this genre that we're in, I was like, holy shit, he caught some kind of paranormal thing on his camera. And he's like, no, it's a crow. But it was so the crow was flying by the camera, and it caught it at this angle where its wings were all the way down, and of course it was kind of blurry, and everything else in that picture was super still because it was a game cam. And and you're like, no, it's a crow. I was like, oh shit, okay, but
yeah, I
it's good
see
to
one
get somebody
person
like that.
too.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause,
So that creepy cemetery again, like there's known wars of people watching you in the cemetery. So it's late at night, I'm taking camera shots, and then all of a sudden one picture I stop and I look at it, I zoom in, I see these two bright glowing eyes in the woods just staring at me. So my first reaction, I'm like, what is this? I started getting a little freaked out a little bit. I'm like, I see glowing eyes looking at me. So I went turned on my flashlight, and that's when I realized it was a barn owl up on the fence.
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
How those
So
are.
yeah, and those things make some crazy noises too, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, one day I was out doing my Bigfoot thing, and I heard what sounded like a chimpanzee scream, right? And I had
Mhm.
never heard this noise before. And so I went to my best friend because he's a hunter, he's an outdoorsman. He hunts ducks and deer and hog, and he's a very outdoorsy guy.
Yep.
And so I sent it to him. I said, "Hey, listen to this. Tell me what you think." And he looked at it. He heard it. He goes, "Oh, that's an owl." I said, "An owl?" He goes, "Yeah, it's an owl." And he said, "Hey, come here." He called his wife. He goes, "Hey, come here." So he played it for her. He goes, "What's this?" She goes, "Oh, that's an owl." And he goes, they cut down some woods by his house, and all those owls and those trees got displaced. He goes, and they were in my backyard. He goes, if I hadn't seen them screaming like that, because I wouldn't have known what it was either. He goes, but I saw them because we all heard them and saw them. So I was okay, good. Well, I was glad I didn't post it on Facebook like an idiot.
Yeah, that's why I like the places to investigate, like indoors, because when you're outside investigating, there's so much outside noise. It's hard to
Yeah,
figure out what's paranormal and what's not.
yeah. And if you're not
With all
familiar
the
with the wildlife in the area, it can,
that
throw
too,
you.
especially down
Yeah.
here in Florida with all the bobcats and panthers and all that. It's just like I'd rather stay indoors.
Excuse me. Also, so you talked about going to that cemetery. That's sometimes something that people will discuss online also, whether it's right or wrong to go to a cemetery.
Hmm.
What is your thought on that?
I mean, if you're in a cemetery, kind of investigating, trying to talk to the spirits, try to figure out, because the cemetery that we were at, there's a lot of unmarked graves and like so the unmarked graves, there's a lot of restless spirits there. So I
Yeah,
mean, I think like if you go there to kind of talk to the spirits a little bit, kind of get their story, and kind of like help them out in a way, you
yeah,
kind of help them kind of cross over in a way so that they're kind of more at peace, kind of. I think that would be the more respectful approach to go into a cemetery and do stuff like that, try to help them be at peace,
Yeah,
than to go there and terrorize and
yeah,
vandalize it.
yeah. I think if you go, with respect, it's okay.
Yeah,
And like I've never gone to like a newer cemetery anyway. I was going to these old cemeteries where nobody goes to. And the way I see it is, if they want to communicate with you, they will, right? And this really like going to a haunted location. If the spirits want to communicate with you, they will. Even
and
some of the most active places, that people go to, I've known people who have gone to them and say, "Man, we got nothing. We got nothing." And it's because spirits don't want to communicate with you. Uh, you
that's
know, and that's just
that's
the
like
way it goes sometimes.
that's like here. We've been going here for maybe almost 2 years now, and I would say half the year we got absolutely nothing in here, but we still come here because every week we Jones a paranormal investigation, so we take whatever we can. So we just kept coming here whenever we can't do nothing, and they're starting now after almost 2 years. They're starting to open up to us now, so it just takes a lot of time and patience.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going an investigation like it's like fishing kind of way. You're casting a line and you're just waiting.
You know what? It's funny that you say that because that's what I say too. Especially when I go out bigfooting. It's like, sometimes there's nothing happening, and it's just like, when you go fishing, because sometimes you don't catch anything. But the thing I like about bigfooting is like, even if I don't get any action, at least I'm sitting around a campfire eating some pretty good food. So I don't mind that too much.
Yeah, that's what I love about my group because it wasn't like I just joined some random group. Like we all knew each other really good before we joined. So when we come here, we know the staff. So like nothing's going on. We kind of take a break. We go down in the lobby. We chit chat with people, try to talk to people, and see what kind of stories they got. And if we're in the room and nothing's happening, we kind of just sit around and like you're on the campfire, we just sit around and just chit chat because a lot of times when you're chit chatting and not paying attention to them, they kind of get jealous and then they just start amping up the activity. So it's good to have a group that you trust and have fun with.
Yeah, yeah. I've told this story before on the show, but when I first got into bigfooting, I went out with this group. I didn't know anyone in the group, and they're not around anymore, and I know why, because they're boring. Uh, but I'd like to joke around. I like to make silly comments or whatever, and not that I like screw anybody's investigation up. Someone's doing something. They got a recorder going. I'm not gonna be mouthing
Yeah,
off or saying something stupid. But if we're not doing anything and we're kind of walking through the woods, I'm gonna say something silly or whatever. And they were like, "Hey, we don't usually joke around like that." And I'm like, "What?" No. So that was
yeah,
like last
that
time. Yeah. Yeah, I like to have
that
fun. Yeah.
exactly, and that's another main reason why we all branched off from that tour guide group from Ebor that I was saying earlier. We like to go, have fun and socialize and kind of like try to get evidence, and it was all like just business
Yeah.
in a way. We just wanted to branch off,
Mhm.
but no,
So
the
how many?
hacienda. The what?
I was gonna say, how many people are in your group now?
There's 5 of us,
Okay.
just a small little group,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're all different in a way. Every person has their own abilities, and then we put them together and come up with some good evidence.
Yeah. Have you ever done that Estes method?
Yes, we've done that before a few times.
What kind of results do you get?
We get some pretty good stuff. At this place here, especially down in the basement, that's where the more darker stuff is. Because back in the day, that there was a lot of secrets down there, so it's a little bit more unnerving down there. But
Hmm.
I've done some EV Estes methods down there, and you kind of feel like people are watching you, kind of way, and you feel like there's heavy presence all around you when you're doing it. So it's a little freaky when you're down there doing it.
Hmm.
But I mean, you do get good results sometimes with it because you don't know what they're saying.
And do you
So
guys
it's
have
just
any plans on going or on taking a trip anywhere soon?
Yeah, we were just talking about next year, kind of branching out and try to do kind of like go out of state kind of ways too. And that's one
Mhm.
other reason why we joined the TikTok community because we're meeting so many other paranormal groups that are outside Florida. So like
Yeah,
we're starting to get connections out of state. So like, we can go to where they are and they'll help us out, and then if they're ever down here, we help them out. So we're starting to get some boundaries and foundations for outside investigations in a way.
that's cool, man. Yeah, dude, if you're ever in Texas, man, let me know. That there's Texas is a pretty haunted place in itself. There's a lot of history here, especially with wars. The battles that took place here in
The
Galveston.
one
Yeah.
the one main place I would love to go in Texas is Coatman's Bridge.
Okay. Yeah, and if you go there, you may as well go to Mineral Wells. The Haunted Hill House. Yeah, because you'll
Yeah,
be right in that area. And I've actually been in a Haunted Hill House. It was a pretty cool little spot. I didn't get a ton of activity there, but it was actually a pretty good little spot. Uh, a friend of mine had made his own little spirit box, with the reverb and the amplifier, the small amplifier. The pedals, like the reverb pedal. What's the other pedal that you use? I can't remember.
I got
Um,
a here that has one of those too.
yeah. And so he was showing it to me, showing me how it works. And he's like, oh, he says, I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna do a session. And I said, can I go with you? And a voice came through that spirit box said, "Come up." So that was
Yeah,
pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
but I think our fun EVP session that we ever got and was here also. It's the day that we got the little kid in the mirror. But we've been coming here so much that my one team member was going through her recorder to seeing what EVPs we caught, and there's one full sentence. And again, I reposted this on my TikTok page, but it's a full on sentence, and it says "House Ghost loves you." So
Oh
like they're
wow.
starting to show us that they love us
Mhm.
because we're always here and we're always talking to them.
So one of our viewers, her name is JV. She says, "Is this your house?" So you want to tell her
This
where you're
is
at?
I'm at a hotel in Newport Richey, Florida. It's the Hacienda Hotel, and this feels like a home. Like we're pretty much here every week, and I mean we got such a good bond with these people that this is this is a funny story, but it's just like I'm into the paranormal world, so it's like anything paranormal. But I do have a wedding gig picked up, booked, and I never thought with me being in the paranormal, I would have a wedding gig. But this hotel, because it's active, it does weddings here, and there's a couple that's getting married here, and they wanted after the wedding they wanted a paranormal tour and paranormal investigation here. So because we have a special bond here, they gave her my email, so we hooked it all up. So after her wedding, we're gonna come here with the whole bride's group and everything, and doing a big investigation in here. So it's gonna be pretty crazy.
Well, that's really cool, man.
But
That's
yeah,
really
like I
cool.
said, this hotel is active. So if anyone wants to come to Newport Richey, Florida, it's the Hacienda Hotel. Any room is haunted in this place, no matter where you go.
Mhm. Is there one room in particular that is more haunted than the others?
I would say the 341 because that's the room where we caught the little boy looking in the mirror at us. And we gotten full EVP sentences in that room too. So I mean, 341 is a good one. Um, the any of the 200 rooms are good too because back in the day, the 200 rooms were the secret brothel rooms. So both of those three rooms, all three of those rooms are pretty good too.
Hmm.
But yeah, this thing was everything. It started out as a like a safe haven for the people, like all the actors in Hollywood. This was like Hollywood of the East. So like any of the celebrities want to get away from like the popular life, they would all hang out down here. So they made this hotel for them.
Mhm.
So this was a
Yeah.
big hotel for celebrities. There was a secret tunnel down here for the prohibition. There was a secret brothel area. After the hotel closed down, it was like a a rehab center. There's talks that it used to be like in a little while it used to be like an insane asylum over here, and it was also a nursing home for the elderly, and then it came back to being a hotel. So there's just a lot of history here.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I'm glad you're able to do that too for the bride and groom. I'm sure you guys will have a good time. I'm sure they will too. Um,
And for all the history buffs out there that love learning about history and ghost stories, there's a guy who works here. His name is Gary. If you ever call up, ask for Gary or Kathy. Tell them Fearless Paranormal piqued your interest about coming here. They'll hook you up with a good spooky room if you ask for us. But Oscar, who works here, his husband is an author who has membership for all these different archives and everything. So he came up with a book that it is out there in the internet for sale. But if you ever want to know more about the history of this place, this has everything from when it opened till now, and it has all the ghost stories in here too, and all the celebrities that stayed here too.
and what is
This
the
is a
title of?
yeah, that's the title, and then that's his name on the bottom.
Okay, very
So
cool.
yeah, it's a good book. I bring it with me here, and I kind of read the stories in there, and all the equipment goes off when I read the stories in here because they love their story being told. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'll bring the book in here and read them stories out of it.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool. Do you get activity when you start reading from that book?
Yeah, there's one lady they talked about when it was a senior home here. I forgot her name, but she ended up falling into the lake behind here. And then as soon as I said her name, like all the friend pods, all our devices were going off. And in one of the chapters, it talks about because before back in the day, this place used to be like a good place for high school prom. They had like the bands here. I mean, Tiny Tim played here, Johnny Cash played here, but
Mhm.
they would have a bunch of bands that played here. So I would find their bands in the book and start playing them on YouTube. And I got the Tiny Tim they love here. When I play him, our devices go off like crazy. And I always forget there's one other old band that I play here, and their devices go off all the time when we play certain bands that used to play here. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And as far as equipment goes, do you have a favorite piece of equipment?
I mean, I only have one. the the downfall of paranormal, you don't get paid for it. Equipment's very expensive. But my only piece of equipment is this guy behind me. It's my little REM pod.
Mhm.
I have that and a little cat ball on top of it, but as of right now, that's all I have. My other
Mhm.
team members have all the other stuff. They got, the dead bell, the music box, REM pods, triangles. They got everything, but I'm slowly starting to save up to try to get some more stuff.
Mhm. So I don't do a lot of paranormal investigation. I've got just like the basics. I got a couple little REM pods, and of course I got some digital recorders, which I use for my Bigfoot stuff too. Um, but one thing that I wanted to implement or like the glow sticks, the kind you snap and you shake them up and they glow. You can get those at the dollar store. You can maybe hang them, in the door frame or anywhere and see if they get moved around.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
also what I use for Bigfoot sometimes is you can go like on Amazon or even a dollar store, I'm sure, and get like those little jingle bells, and
yep, yep.
okay, yeah, yeah, and I hang those up by my recorders. I haven't had anything mess with them yet, but it'd be very interesting to see if you have your spirits mess with stuff like that. Stuff that man, like I said, you can go to the dollar store and probably find stuff that they can interact with and mess around with.
Yeah, actually, the cat ball I have here, not too long ago, we were in one room and the kids they wanted to play games. So we were putting the cat balls on the floor, with little cups, and we're trying to, play golf or whatever they want. But at one time, the cat ball did move a little bit. So yeah, it's pretty crazy when that happened.
Yeah.
When they start moving stuff around.
So what do you have coming up? You still going to be there at the hacienda for a couple of days, or what's
Well,
your routine?
we just come here on Wednesdays normally, but my one team member he he travels work, so he was out of state for a while, so we haven't really been doing too much. But the perks of him working out of state, he's finding locations for us. So in a way, that's been helping us out too. But next week, it's a flip. We might be here. My main team member, he's got a bunch of haunted possession dolls. He's got dolls, objects, divot boxes. Sometimes we'll just go to a team member's house with one of his divot boxes and go live for a little bit and talk to the divot box or one of his haunted possessions and kind of branch out a little bit that way too.
Yeah, yeah. So I used to have some haunted dolls, of my own. And I say I used to. I still have them. They're just in storage.
Yeah.
I got married in January, so um, thank you, JV. She says, "Great job as always, Joe. Thank you. I appreciate you tuning in." So so my wife, she's like, "No, we're not having those in the house." So I put them in
Yeah,
storage.
he, my wife's the same way. She's like, no, no dolls in this house, because all my other dolls now, like, well, there's no dolls in this house.
Yeah, yeah, and like I'm actually okay with it. It wasn't that big
Yes,
of a deal for me. Yeah.
yes, feel like I was never big into dolls because it's just like the constant energy that's probably get thrown through it. But
Hmm.
there was one that I saw someone I was talking to on TikTok. She sells a lot of dolls, and the only thing that kind of piqued my interest, there's this one doll that she had for sale, and it's like a scarecrow, but it's not a person, it's just an entity, and it's a protector. It wards off evil spirits. It's like a scarecrow. It like wards off. So like
Hmm.
something like that, I would get. But other than that, I don't think I would be able to.
Yeah. Um, and real quick, do you do anything before you do an investigation as far as protection goes, or after an investigation?
Actually, it's funny you say that. I have my necklace right here. It's a black tourmaline necklace. It's the big protector of evil spirits, and I do have some black obsidian crystal figure that I put next to my laptop when I go live, and that's another protector. So I do have those two sets of protections, and I kind of call it my, like in the when you're in a car, you have like the emergency kit in your car.
Right.
I kind of have, I kind of have that in my backpack. It's a big stick of sage that I keep in my backpack. So when things do hit the fan, I do have that I can bring out too. And then before any investigation, I'll leave some Palo Santo and my lighter in my garage because that's how I come through in and out of the house. After each investigation, before I get in the house, I cleanse myself in the garage with the Palo Santo before I enter the house to um to ward off the spirits and all that too. But that grounding is a good way too to get rid of them in a way. And then with crystals and everything, I learned on TikTok too through some friends that it's just like a battery. Every full moon you gotta charge them or it's gonna lose its juice. So there's a lot of upkeep too on trying to protect yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, Mr. Kevin, we are coming up at the end of the show, man. I wanted to give you an opportunity to let people know where they can find you, where they can find your stuff, and how they can, if you have any contact information you want to pass out, that's fine. That's fine with me.
Yeah, sure. On TikTok, Ghost Hunter 89 on there. Our Fearless Paranormal group is also on there. My other buddy runs that page. And on my TikTok page is my email address I put on there. My business email is hauntedexpedition@gmail.com. I kind of put on there so that way if anyone has any places that we could investigate, they can email me on there. And we're trying to like branch out and have some fun. So we're thinking about maybe trying to do some house calls too in a way too. If anyone has any haunted houses, we could try to help out too. We want to try and do some of those also. But yeah, I'm mostly on TikTok. Every Wednesday, I'm live doing an investigation. If it's either here or somewhere else, I'm always on here on Wednesdays. Usually about 8 o'clock, I'm on here. And like I said, it's either here or a bunch of our haunted objects that we do, and we have some fun with it. We get a big following for that. And I think starting soon, I was thinking about kind of going on doing like a little podcast myself on the TikTok page, kind of talking about each month, like all the highlights of what happened each month,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Talk about what's going to happen next month, and then if anyone wants to share their stories or need any advice, I'll help out with that too. So, but it's mostly gonna branch off next year. Like I said earlier, we're in the midst of trying to branch out and start doing hitting the road and flying around and trying to get into the more serious places.
Yeah. Well, cool, man, dude. It was great having you on. If you have anything you ever want me to share for you, man, tag me in it, send it to me, whatever. I'll promote it for you. I'll be happy to do all that.
Yeah, perfect.
Um,
And oh, also, I know you said you do Bigfoot and all that, but do you like UFO stuff?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Ever been to Pine Bush, New York?
No, I haven't, but I've heard of it.
That's the town I grew up in.
Okay.
Every year they have a UFO festival, and people
Mhm.
show up there, tell their abduction stories, and they have a whole big festival there. So I would definitely check that area out one day.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I've heard of the area. I just didn't know that they had a festival there. So yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
stuff.
every year. Like I left there, God, I don't know how many years, and I still look up, and they still have them, and they have a museum there that's all dedicated to UFO stuff too. So yeah, that would be a fun place for you to check out.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And everyone else, like I said, sorry the camera's not working. I don't know. Guess lucky you guys, the camera's not working. But um, that I have a show next Monday. I don't know who I have. I never know who I have. And just a reminder, in October I'm going to be going to pre-recorded shows, and most of those will be audio only, and uh, I might throw in some video every now and then. For the most part, they'll be audio, and they'll still be available on YouTube and Spotify, and of course, Nighthawk Radio. So you guys can check that out. Mr. Kevin, thank you once again for coming on. I do appreciate you, sir.
Thank you. And also one last thing. Right after this, I'm going live at the hacienda. So if you go on my TikTok page right after this, you'll be able to see a little of our investigation tonight also.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. Everyone, go tune in and follow them. Check it out. I know you guys will like what you see.
And
And
thank you
until
for having
next, yeah, man, yeah, for sure. And the next week, guys, we will see you on Monday. Don't go anywhere, Kevin. Hold on, right where you're at.